Okay, for those of you who missed the intro, what we're going to do right now is go through this document. This is the anti-SLAPP motion that we had filed and then withdrew. So some of you may have seen it, but I want to go through it with you. And many of you probably haven't seen it. We filed it and then withdrew it. This was, we talked the other day about Montegraph curiously not answering questions that were presented. When we presented our discovery demands, once we did that, he withdrew from the case. What I didn't talk about is that this motion, even though it was withdrawn, is looming over Montegraph the entire time, because it was going to get filed again, either again as a anti-SLAPP motion or as a summary judgment motion. They're going to read about the same. And so this was looming there. This is something that Montegraph and his legal team were going to have to face at some point. Defamation cases are about reputation. And one of the ways to defend against them is to point out that the reputation of someone was not damaged by the actions of the defendant. All right. So I'm not going to look, this is presented to the court. It was not actually examined by the court. It was withdrawn. I'm not going to say too much about it other than this is one of the things that withdrawing prevented Monty from having to defend himself on. Like, this is what you do. It's you're turning the tables as a defendant and attacking the other person, saying, this is who they are. How could I have possibly done any damage? Is kind of the idea of part of this anyway. But we'll see. Introduction. Plaintiff Steve Quest. Hold on. Kidding. There we go. Plaintiff Steve Quest, a.k.a. Montegraph, and Monty, is a Colorado entertainer, artist, and video producer. He uses the other three names as stage names or screen names. That's from Complaint Section 2. Among plaintiff's works is a video entitled Little Piggy and the Umbrella Man, in which plaintiff both stars and directs. In that movie, he threatens to rape and seemingly murders a teenage girl. And then here's a link to it, of course, the archive.org. Little Piggy and the Umbrella Man. It's, I believe, the only place you can watch it right now. This movie garnered significant attention because of its shocking content. Nicholas Rekeita is a Minnesota attorney. Now I'm suing Mark for defamation, who hosts an online video program wherein he discusses legal proceedings. And then there's a footnote here. Rekeita Law, LLC is Mr. Rekeita's law firm. Rekeita Law is separately the name of Mr. Rekeita's show, but it is not produced by the firm. Rather, it is so named because it is Rekeita discussing law. Defendants do not understand why the law firm was sued. That's true. The law firm has nothing to do with this show. My law firm is Rekeita Law, LLC. The show is owned by Rekeita Media, LLC. As plaintiff has never been a client and the firm is separate from the online video program, it is a failure of the defendant's diligence at best or a bad faith effort to wrongly attempt to pursue an insurance payout at worst. Accordingly, the law firm itself is entitled to dismissal on even stronger grounds than Rekeita himself. Okay, so then back to this. In 2019, Quest made a legal threat against YouTuber Mr. Medicare regarding Medicare's commentary about a lawsuit he filed against an individual named Jake. Jesus, can't even read. Jake Morfinos, regarding commentary on the film and related allegations of Quest pedophilia. Mr. Rekeita appeared on Medicare's program to discuss the legal threat over this rape murder fantasy movie. So we've got comments 3 and 4. Rekeita discussed this on a live stream with Medicare on June 29th, 2019. Great show, by the way. Jim and I having this discussion was really, really fantastic. See Drummer 828, Mr. Medicare and Nick Rekeita stream on Montegraph. Available at this YouTube link. It's actually there. I think it's on Drummer's channel because Medicare, he didn't preserve his streams. Other people did. And I was on Jim's show, so I didn't preserve it either. In a filing Quest submitted in this litigation, he stated that third parties have been publishing videos about him and his Montegraph name since 2010. Response to motion to dismiss in Morfino's case attached as Exhibit 1 at 4. This right here is a big fucking problem for Montegraph. Whoops. This is a big problem for Montegraph. He, in his Morphino's case, something he failed to mention in this case is that people have been talking about him in his videos, or have been making videos about him since 2010. His reputation is not new. Mr. Rekeita's commentary is not dry analysis one might find on CNN. Sometimes it is made to be entertaining. As characterized by plaintiff, quote, in addition to offering legal advice and analysis, defendant Nicholas Rekeita engages in hyperbole and comedy. That was a bad line from his complaint. Shouldn't have been there if you're writing a complaint. That fact is both true and fatal to Quest's claims if this case is evaluated with integrity and faith to the rule of law. If it is just about Rekeita is abrasive, then perhaps there are more hurdles to overcome, but none that should be placed anywhere in a legal proceeding. And this, again, the moment that they acknowledge that I engage in hyperbole and comedy, then they've got a problem, because the case has to be like defamation has to be an assertion of a statement of fact that a reasonable person is supposed to take as fact. Like if I call someone a rapist, for example, like they have to believe that I'm calling them a rapist because they are raping. Not a rape. Rather than me just throwing out some insult or some reference to some other thing, like within a community, maybe. I don't know. Like it could be a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily mean a dry recitation of the facts or even an assertion of a fact at all. Part of the first element of defamation is it has to be a statement of fact that is false. So, and the way you prove out the statement of fact is that a reasonable person would find it to be a statement of fact given the totality of circumstances surrounding the statements. All right. So here we go. Defendants Nicholas Rekeita and Rekeita Law, LLC, collectively defendants seek dismissal under Minnesota's new anti-SLAPP law. While this court denied defendants' prior motion to dismiss the amended complaint pursuant to Colorado's anti-SLAPP law, the court rejected the application of Colorado law. It did so in part because Quest argued that anti-SLAPP laws are unconstitutional. They knew this was not true when they argued it, and it is no more true now. Minnesota's old anti-SLAPP law was. Not all anti-SLAPP laws are. So this is a really interesting thing. A big part of the reason we lost the application of Colorado's anti-SLAPP law, there are two reasons. Mark talked about this in my interview with him. The first part of the reason was they said Minnesota didn't want an anti-SLAPP law because we didn't have one. And the second was they said that Colorado didn't know how to apply its own anti-SLAPP law. Now, that's actually kind of true because there's a district split in Colorado about how to apply the anti-SLAPP law that they're waiting for the Colorado Supreme Court to actually resolve. But that resolution should be coming. That resolution should be happening. And then, at that point, that would be resolved. But Minnesota clearly did want an anti-SLAPP law. Minnesota obviously wanted an anti-SLAPP law. They had one, and then the Supreme Court of Minnesota shut it down because it was unconstitutional prior. Now we have a new one. It's modeled after laws that have been upheld in other states. And, it seems like it'll stick around for a while. The Minnesota legislature has now passed a new constitutional anti-SLAPP law. The choice of law issue that formed the basis for the court's denial of that earlier motion is no longer in play. Quest's amended complaint is premised entirely on defendants' exercise of First Amendment rights, and the amended complaint is meritless. The claim should be dismissed with prejudice, and defendants should be awarded their costs and attorney's fees under Minnesota Statute 554.16. Who is the plaintiff? Factual background, and this is where things get interesting. Remember, this is all about reputation. One sec. Stupid toolbar. Go away. Plaintiff describes himself as an entertainer, artist, and video producer who uses the name Montegraph, Monty, and October Rains. His IMDb page identifies him as the writer, director, and rapist in the short film, rapist in quotes, not actual rapist, but rapist in quotes, in the short film Little Piggy and the Umbrella Man. And this is Footnote 5 says rapist. The guy could have named himself anything, but he chose rapist. That's a good footnote. I like that one. In the short film Little Piggy and the Umbrella Man, plaintiff identifies himself as Roy Warren Marshall, aka Steve Quest, in Keyboard Commandos Must Die. See Montegraph IMDb page attached as Exhibit 2. Footnote 6. Here's the, well, it's just links. He often uses checkerboard imagery in young children in his work. The AV Club even has a page dedicated to his Keyboard Commandos Must Die film. See AV Club page on Keyboard Commandos Must Die. Attached as Exhibit 3. Plaintiff has 70.8 thousand subscribers and over 1.2 million views on his YouTube channel. How does Monty have 70,000 subscribers? Like, how did 70,000 people have that much collective brain damage? I don't know. Maybe they just like warm shrimp. I'm not sure. Apparently, there are also pictures of Quest essentially French kissing a Barbie doll that looks like a little girl. See Alyssa Clips. Oh, Alyssa. That's nice. At Montegraph introduces himself to potentially criminal. YouTube, October 10th, 2022, attached as Exhibit 5 at 12 minutes, 27 seconds. Similarly, he seems to actually eat shit and then French kiss Barbie dolls, citing back to that same video. This may refer to the 2 girls, 1 cup video mentioned above. The court should note the 2 girls, 1 cup is a famous pornographic video of women eating feces from one another's rectums. This is one of the apparent inspirations for plaintiff's artistic works. Okay. It's important to distinguish what's going on here, and not to get confused or sidetracked, because you may be tempted to go, oh, wait a minute, like they're being critical of like his art or his speech or whatever. No, this is about reputation. He chose rapist is a very specifically worded sentence about his own reputation, the own thing he's putting forth into the world. How does he want to be seen? He chose that. He's using 2 girls, 1 cup, and just by mimicking or creating it, they're suggesting that he's adopting some of the degeneracy to an extent, right? It's not necessarily, this isn't a criticism. This is about reputation, is how I would read this. I don't know. You can read it however you want. Which is attached as Exhibit 6. The reputation the plaintiff had before defendant said a word about him. And this is the key, right? Like, what was his reputation prior to me ever saying anything about him at all? Defamation case is about damage to the plaintiff's reputation. The court cannot evaluate a case about the plaintiff's reputation without knowing the plaintiff's pre-existing reputation. Just some of the highlights are provided here, so that the court can evaluate what kind of reputation this lawsuit seeks to vindicate. As Montegraph, Steve Quest is known as a Colorado torture porn and snuff film producer who makes angry calls to corporate CEOs and celebrities. And we've got, that is referencing this website, haleycummings.me.wordpress.com or haleycummings.me.wordpress.com. Others, quote, others have characterized The Umbrella Man as a snuff film. See warning, satanic and horrific video, kidnapped little girl murdered in a cellar. America's little girl, attached as Exhibit 7. One of the things that I was sued for is the saying that I said that the Umbrella Man video was a snuff film, right? And the reason that he took umbrage with that is because a snuff film involves typically the real killing of, or real torture or whatever of someone. But again, you have to have a reasonable person saying that I was like thinking that I was saying that, but I don't think that was actually communicated in a way to make it out like I thought someone actually died in that video. But hey, whatever. Timothy Holmseth, child torture film producer, threatens to call ABC about Roseanne for praising Pentagon pedophile task force. Timothy Charles Holmseth reports. Now, it's very important to note that, again, this is about reputation. These articles, people have criticized the authors of some of these articles or whatever, these videos, and that's fine. But this is about reputation. And so